What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's episode, we want to focus on what I would think is shocking news, right? People, the GNU might be in problem at the time of this recording simply because a DA member decided to travel in the capacity of a deputy minister without the permission of the president. Now, does this warrant the firing of the deputy minister? Or is this just a case of politicking, trying to get rid of foes within the GNU? Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla. People, never ever in the history of corrupt politics and dirty politicking have I ever heard of a minister or an MEC or a secretary of state or a deputy president or a president getting fired for traveling. I mean, damn. You see, this is what's shocking. Members of the DA, PA, or what other party was it? Can't remember the third party. I think it was Action SA, I think. Travel to Israel. I don't know what they went to go and do there on a fact-finding mission, whatever the case was. Why weren't they fired? I mean, because let's be honest, they didn't do that in a state sanctioned thing. They did that on their own accord. And they did all this thing undermining the integrity of the nation. Now you see, South Africa stands on the side of the Palestinians. So if you as South Africans go and you are standing on the side of Israel opposing the state's position, I would feel that that is being a traitor. That is betrayal. Because South Africa's official position is we stand with Palestine. So if you travel to Israel, well, occupied Palestine, and then you come back and you say, well, there is no case of genocide because you yourself are a supporter of the occupying force of Israel, right? Then I think you should be labeled a traitor. You should be labeled something that is opposing the state. And I feel in my personal capacity, I feel that you, as a person who traveled to Israel, as a traitor. And what's that word they use? There's a word they use, and it is called what's that word again? Treason. You are treasonous. You have committed an act of treason. Anything that goes against the state is treasonous. Well, obviously you can oppose policies, you can oppose this internally. But externally, if we say we are doing this and you do that, in my books, you are committing an act of treason. So therefore, you should be dismissed. Least of all, because there's no death penalty, I really feel like anyone who did that in the capacity that they did in should have been offed. But okay, we are not doing offing anymore because that has been banned, right? So here's the question of the day. This minister who traveled, right, without the permission of the president, apparently he sent an email, it went unanswered. Sent another email, it went unanswered. Then he decided, okay, he needed to travel, so he traveled in his capacity as deputy minister because he said he really needed to travel. So he thought, okay, I'm going to travel and then I will deal with the consequences when I get back, which he did. And unfortunately, that consequence that he had to deal with resulted in his dismissal. And that deputy minister happens to be a member of the DA. Now, in all fairness, I don't think it was a I don't think it was a serious crime for him to travel, right? Because he just traveled. However, I'm not sure what he traveled for. Maybe it's because the contents of what he traveled for is what triggered his dismissal. So, did he travel in his capacity as deputy minister to go and facilitate something against South Africa? Is that why he was dismissed? Did he travel in his capacity as deputy minister to facilitate a private event, facilitate a private problem, to facilitate a private solution, to facilitate something outside his work description? Could that be what prompted his dismissal? Whatever the reason may be, I really feel that there are other cabinet members, other parliamentarians who have committed graver, more devious, more nefarious acts that warrant their dismissal. For example, we all know about the VBS scandal. We all know about members who are involved in the arms deal. We all know the uncoverings of the Zondo Commission. We all know about the instigations of the June uprisings. We all know about the financial irregularities that happened at Palapala. We all know, oh, there's so many guys. We all know about the tender frauds that go on. We all know about the tax implications. We all know the list is just beyond comprehension, to be honest. And we all know about the financial mismanagement of public funds by ministers for private use and just the disappearance of public funds just vanish out of thin air. We all know about the feeding trough that ESCOM was. I mean, people, this warrants fair scrutiny, to be honest. Because if you're going to dismiss someone for traveling, right? And like I'm saying, if the deputy minister traveled to go and facilitate something against the state of South Africa, then of course I think the dismissal is warranted because that would be an act of treason, basically. But if he traveled in his capacity as deputy minister to go and do some private work, I don't think that warrants a dismissal. You know, I really don't. I really don't. But here's the sad thing: it's politics, and they always say politics is a dirty game. Now we all know it's a dirty game, but does it have to be so petty and so dirty that you are going to fire or dismiss? Okay, I don't know if this minister is a hardworking, exemplary, or the GNU was just formed recently, so it's too soon to. But hey, where anyone who fills a previously position held by an ANC member, 99.99% shows that within a day of just being voted in, it's already a vast improvement before you even touch the desk. or be even touch your computer before you even hit the road. Just by virtue of you just being appointed to that previously held position by an ANC member is already a vast improvement before you even actually do the work. So, like I'm basically saying, it goes without saying that the ANC has been doomed for a very long time. Since I think since Zuma came in, the ANC has just been on a downward trajectory. I mean, let's be honest. Reports show that Jacob Zuma's tenure was much better than Cyril's. But even though it was on a downward trajectory, but it is still better than Cyril's. But downward is downward. So in my case, let's just give an example, right? If you used to get 100%, now you get in 50%. Fine, 50 is better, it's half, right? But it's a downward trend. Then the next incumbent comes and he gets 30%. That's way below half, right? That's downward trend. 50 may be better than 30, but let's be honest. Both 50 and 30 are not 100. So there's no such a thing like, oh, but Jacob Zuma was better. No, he was not better. Because when Jacob Zuma inherited the country or got voted into power, the country was functioning at roughly about almost 100 to 90% because the Thabo Mbeki era, things were still fine. Let's be honest. He didn't do much. Thabo Mbeki didn't really do much because he just inherited a good country. Things were still functioning well. All he had to do was just manage it well. And everything was still good. So we can't look at Thabo Mbeki and say like, oh, he threw the country up because the country was already up. There's nothing he needed to do. He just had to manage it. So in our books, it looks like Thabo Mbeki managed that. By the time Zuma got into power, he failed to manage that. Even though the reports show that his presidency is currently better than Cyril's, but it was on a downward trajectory. So 80 to 50 to 30, that's downward. We don't care if it's slightly better than it's still down. They failed to manage what they were given, what they inherited. That's my point. That's my thing. Mandela didn't do much either. He just had to manage what was given to him. And by fair accounts, he did. Thabo Mbeki just continued that management thing. But then the rot at Eskom apparently started with Thabo Mbeki because they say he was told ahead of time that, hey, within 8 years, this thing is going to start collapsing, and he ignored it. So the rot started there, right? So we can't say he was a good manager. It was just a case of kicking the can down the road. So as long as within the limits of his presidency, there was always electricity. But yet he was told during his presidency, we need to fix this. And he was calculating, well, in the next 8 years, well, I'm not going to be here. So he who comes in can fix it. Do you understand what I mean? But you were told about it. He could have set the wheels in motion to prevent what was going to happen down the road. But he didn't. Is that a sign of a good president? I don't think so. Anyway, I'm veering off on a tangent here. So let's go back to the topic at hand. So let's talk about serious issues of which people are not being dismissed. I mean, VBS. VBS was basically like a heist. I mean, it was like a cash grab. Who went to jail for that? Understand what I'm saying? There's more serious crimes on a political level that are being committed, more serious than a traveling ban, or not a traveling ban, but more of a unapproved travel. So if you can fire someone for traveling, surely you should fire somebody for embezzlement, for theft, for fraud, for tax evasion, for illegal possession of millions, if not billions, of foreign currency that entered the country outside of traditional banking channels. Don't you think That would be my perception of things. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a politician. I'm just a YouTuber. But by all accounts, there is no university that teaches you how to run a country. There is no university that teaches you how to be a minister. But by all accounts, these leaders, doesn't matter what degree he's got, can be law, accounting, engineering, marketing, finance, it just doesn't matter. They do not make the decisions. They do not know what's going on in every sector of the economy or the country. That's why they have a team of advisors. So a president does not need to have a degree, but the people that he places in management positions to manage all these things that then report to him, they need to be the qualified people. They need to come up with the decisions to then present to the president. They need to come up with the qualified, intelligent, there's another word I want to insert in there, qualified, intelligent decisions to present to the president to say, these are the options, this is what we think. That's what the role of the advisors are there for. So the managers present the reports, the advisors look at all possible angles and advise the president on the best way forward. Now, we all know the president needs to make a decision, the best decision for the country. And in most cases, presidents don't make decisions by themselves. That's why they have a team of advisors. And in this case, Cyril's team of advisors have drastically failed the president because his entire presidency is just based on crumbs. Everything is crumbling. I do not understand why they have advisors. I mean, how do you advise someone on running a country to the ground? I mean, I didn't even know that in itself was a qualification. But hey, welcome to South Africa. You want to learn how to run a country to the ground? Hey, contact the ANC. But in all fairness, I think it's time for the DA to rethink its strategy and leave the GNU. I think the DA should just stick to regional politics. Maybe later down the road, look into national politics. But for now, they should just stick to what they have, grow that, perfect that, and yeah, because clearly now the GNU has become a sticking point. But here's the thing. If the DA leaves the GNU, who is the ANC going to pick as their successor? Because if the DA leaves, that means the only two positions or parties possible to fill in that gap is the MK, because they got something like 14% of the vote, and the EFF, because they got like what, 9% of the vote. The MK have indicated, well, Jacob Zuma has indicated that he will not work with the ANC, not work with the ANC, as long as Cyril is at the helm. The EFF will be only too glad to fill in the position, because then it will grant Julius Malema and his party the much needed power that they seek. And trust you me, if Malema gets into that position, into government, that kill the Boer, kill the farmer song might as well be South Africa's next national anthem, because there'll be no stopping him from singing that song with more vigor and more pride. If he can already do that and he's not even in power, can you imagine what he would do when he gets into power? I'm just saying. Let me know what you think about this video. Was I on the money or did I totally miss it with this one? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holler.